Are we ready then? Okay. I would like to call to order the Monday, July 19th meeting of the Winona City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Goforth.
Present.
Alder Groupie and Alder Moore are both excused. Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Coor.
Here.
Alder Thomas.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 21st meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Minutes are approved. There are no appearances. There's no public hearing. There's no consent agenda. We will move on to unfinished business 1A. Consideration of Resolution 21-6-2501, approving a certified survey map, CSM, for lots 1 and 2 of CSM 15671 and lot 3 of CSM 10267 at 1707 West Broadway. It's put forth by the Plan Commission. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll move to approve. Second.
Okay, Doug, were you going to address this? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. This is the CSM, the request by WPS to assist with the sale of the Norby building on the eastern side of the campus. The aim of this is to provide the Norby lot with the full width of the roadway to simplify both maintenance and access. The Plan Commission reviewed the third condition as originally recommended at the request of City Council at their July 12th meeting, where the zoning permit was also conditionally approved for One City Schools. These recommendations are now included within the memo as conditions 3 and 4, and that's included within the staff memo in the packet. A revised CSM addressing the edits outlined in the June 9th Vierbecker letter, which was condition number 2, is also included, and that is an update from the first read of this.
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, sure.
Doug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with my computer right now, opening the file, so just go from memory. So did Plan Commission discuss the traffic impact of combining or of separating the sites? Because now traffic going to One City School will have to go out by Bridge Road. They won't have any other way out. I guess there will be emergency access provided, but
Yes, so the zoning permit did also include a traffic impact analysis conducted by Ayers Associates. They did the original traffic impact analysis for WPS, updated their numbers, and also modeled the school, as well as the potential Winona Garden redevelopment site that could be coming through, the riverfront, the second phase that's currently under construction, and the numbers even at full occupancy for the school. That was going to still be right around where WPS was at full capacity. And so the traffic impact analysis stated that there would not be any additional burden on the intersections, particularly the Bridge Road Broadway intersection. That level of service would remain the same with very minor traffic changes there, as signal changes, things like that. And so traffic was discussed. It was really viewed that the access drive that they have heading north-south is great for queuing, and there was a full sort of design drawn up in the analysis as well as to how that could be handled for pickup, drop-off of the parents. And then the emergency access, that was discussed quite at length by the Commission as well, and how that could be handled. And that was really where particularly condition 4 came in, such that it was recommended that the applicant work with both the fire and police chiefs to sort of come to a design that would allow for cross-access between those in case of an emergency, whether it's bollards, whether it's a gate, something like that. That was sort of left up for further discussion and design.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, anyone? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
So I
Oh, I'm sorry.
did have a,
motion.
no, there's no motion, but,
I
right?
thought we had a
Yes,
motion.
Alders, go for
Oh,
it.
you're right.
And Alders.
Sorry.
I just wanted to make a short comment that I understand they have a traffic analysis that says everything will work fine. I'm really skeptical that everything will work fine. I think there'll be times where it won't function very well, especially if the Winona Garden gets redeveloped, anything like what they're proposing. So, but we don't have a traffic study that contradicts that. I don't have one, obviously. So I think, my hands, otherwise I'd vote against it, but I think my hands are kind of tied, so.
Okay. Attorney Cole?
Mayor, this does, at least if the Plan Commission recommendation is followed, the emergency access will be issued pursuant to a recordable document. I did just get a copy of it from WPS this morning. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So if the council does approve this, if you could just make one of the conditions subject to my approval of that document.
Okay. Who,
Christie made it.
Christie
and I
made the
second it.
motion. Would you like to make a amendment, I guess, to her motion? Is that right, Bill?
Yes.
Sure. Sure, I'll amend per Attorney Cole's recommendation. How about that?
Joan,
Second.
would you do that? Kathy, second.
Could I add a comment just to help Alder Wood maybe, calm your concerns a little? I would say we did discuss this a lot at Plan Commission, and part of it is the WPS reduction in workforce is going to alleviate a lot of pressure there that was, formerly seen. And so it kind of almost balances out. I hope that's kind of accurate, but it basically seems like it balances out with the reduction of their workforce. But I agree, the Winona Garden development, since that's up in the air, that's yet to be seen. But I think the traffic study, we all felt pretty confident in it, and the queuing and staging and staggered start times that One City Schools has proposed seems really to alleviate a lot of those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, new business. 2A, consideration of Resolution 21-7-2503, approval of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Winona and the DNR for mutual aid and fire suppression services. This is put forth by the Public Safety Committee.
Chief is not able. Take this one. It's a pretty straightforward memorandum of understanding with the DNR. It's basically allowing us to both work collectively to address forest fires and suppression, just to give us kind of the legal authority to do that.
Any questions about that? Okay, then we'll move on to item 2B, discussion and update on planning for new public safety facility. This was put forth by Brian and myself. You all should have received a memo from City Administrator Gatto explaining kind of the background of this and what we're planning on going forward with. We had talked about this, I guess, February of 2020 in the council meeting, and at that point, the council agreed that we should go forward with the plan of pursuing the site behind the current the City Hall, that parking lot site. So that's what we have been doing. They also wanted us to come up with, you also asked for some planning for a future city campus and what that would look like. So we did do that, and we explained how we contracted with UWM, and there's a few drawings in there. It's all purely theoretical at this point. The public safety part of this would not affect any of those other, any of the community center project or any of that. So that's kind of just more of a forward-thinking sort of a thing. So the Chief McMullen was going to explain about this other architectural firm that he brought in. And Brian, do you want to address that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Just so, as we kind of talked about last year, pre-COVID and now, there is a lot of work that needs to be done to determine if, in fact, a new facility can be properly located on the parking lot site across the street. From a technical standpoint, we've had two different consultants indicate that, yes, it would fit there, but those are really high-level schematic drawings, and we'd need to spend some more time kind of doing some fine-grained detail on how the different shapes of the buildings would fit on the site, how we address things like the existing cellular equipment that's in one of the service buildings there, planning around the well that's on the property. So all those things are more high, that need more additional detail before we can get a green light to formally move forward with the project. So to kind of help us kind of do some of that thinking, Chief McMullen had a firm come by named Five Bugles. They're part of a much larger architectural firm, but they focus kind of their design studio is more focused on public safety buildings. They stopped by just to do a very preliminary, no cost walkthrough of the site, just to bounce ideas, see how the existing facility was and how things might shape on the site. That was just to kind of give us a thumbs up or thumbs down in terms of, like, is this even a remote possibility, or are there significant flaws with that current site that would prevent a building from being constructed there. So the next step in a formal process to take this further would be to do an actual RFP for site feasibility analysis. So we'd bring in a firm to actually take a look at that site in greater detail and kind of determine from a technical standpoint what could fit there and how. The chief estimates that the cost of that RFP is probably somewhere in the tune of $8,000 to $10,000. And if that pencils out to be something that could actually work on that site, then if the council wants to move forward with the project, we would look at an RFP for formal design services to actually plan out what that building would be, both from a kind of a massing standpoint, but also programmatically how that structure would lay out. Given the cost of that sort of architectural design, which we guesstimate from Bray's previous analysis prior to COVID in 2020 at being about $800,000 for the architectural design, we'd look to have a conversation with the council when we get to the budget process in 2020 about breaking that design work up into two different phases over 2 capital years. So potentially half in 2022 and the other half in 2023. And if we got to the point where the building was ready to be 90% architectural design and ready to go, then we would look potentially to do construction in 24 or later, depending on what the council's direction is. So kind of in terms of conversation tonight, that would just be our request from the council, to get your feedback and thoughts on whether or not we should move forward with a site feasibility analysis, which would then inform future decisions that the council would be making over the next couple of months.
And we'd like to do the site feasibility analysis this year if we could. So we'd have some more information in preparation for the capital budget. Alder Thomas.
Is there a timeline that you have in mind or that you hope to accomplish from feasibility to drawing to implementation?
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of the other structures that have been built recently in the metro and talking to some of the architects, if we broke up the design work into 2 different capital periods, you'd start the latter half of 2020 starting with that work, and then you'd finish the design work in the first part of 2023. Concurrently with that, we would be looking at different funding scenarios. This would likely be a general obligation borrowing project, but we are looking at the possibility of some loan programs through the USDA, the federal government, which provides a way to borrow for those type of municipal facilities at a much better rate in a much longer time frame. So there's a less impact kind of from a tax capacity. So that's something we would do some more due diligence on if we were to move forward with this project at that stage. So let's fast forward and say the design is completed in middle of 2023. You ideally would bid out the project in beginning part of 24, and then construction would start that spring of 24. And then I can't give you a firm deadline on how long it would take to actually build out the structure, but you're talking probably the bulk of 24, maybe even into 25 to finish the building.
I think the Bray architect said typically 2 complete years from start of design to finish.
From pencil and paper to turn the key and cut the ribbon type of situation.
And of course, we're spreading the design over 2 years, so it'll be a little longer. Any other questions? Doug, did you have?
Would this, so the next step would include looking at the feasibility for all the buildings, or
Just the public safety
public
building.
safety?
Yeah, I think the civic campus idea is a much larger scope project that we're probably not in a position to take on that at this moment. I think from our discussion last year, the need was to make sure that we're focusing attention on the public safety building, but keeping in mind the larger goal of how this new building would potentially fit into whatever we want to do in the quote-unquote civic campus in the coming years. So, the work from CDS it's graduate level student work, which is fine, but it at least gets the ideas flowing on what might be possible over there. But obviously, a much larger community engagement process would need to be done before we commit to anything there.
And whatever we would do would be on the for that community center pool, because the pool is going to need to be replaced
Right.
too, would be on the community center site or west of there, maybe into the ball fields
Right.
north of there. It wouldn't affect this project would not affect that, at least the way it's
Yeah, the only thing that
thinking right now.
we would spend a little bit more time researching and doing the site feasibility analysis would be the parking, because you do have the property line of the existing fire department parking lot, which backs up to the parking for the senior center, community center. So that's something that's we'd make a point of emphasis on the design, so we make sure we solve that, make sure that flows correctly.
And we also have to talk to the school district because they have buses going through there.
Sure,
To pick up the drop-off kids. Alder
Yeah,
Thomas.
I just wanted to say thank you to the two of you for proceeding on this and moving ahead. I don't think the community realizes how desperately we need that facility. And, I am 100% behind you, and I am delighted that you're moving on it, because even now, if we start tomorrow, it's going to be a while. And I commend both our police and fire departments for doing the outstanding job they do, considering the circumstances of their facilities. So,
And I do plan within that, probably next year, assuming that we aren't in the middle of a pandemic again, to have some open houses over there, I think, so people can really see the conditions of what a lot of people are working in, which I think they'll be surprised. So, anyone else?
I do. So I see the police department garage. So the police department would be relocated within that building
Right.
as well.
Correct, yeah, so, sorry, I should have made that clear. This would be a joint facility, so
Yep.
it houses police and fire in the same building. How they space out in terms of the different floors and whatnot would to be determined, but yes, the goal would be to move the police department out of their current facilities in City Hall down into that new space.
Excellent, and that alleviates a little pressure in City Hall too. which is
Right,
really nice.
right.
Yeah.
And I want to reiterate what Alder Thomas said, and I agree. Thank you for proceeding with this. It is a priority, and it looks like construction costs are kind of starting to come down. Hopefully, by the time this would be undertaken, we would be in a much better spot. So.
I hope so.
And we do have the benefit of, our neighbor to the south, McFarland, is in the midst of building their new facility as we speak. So we're watching that very closely to see construction costs,
Excellent.
design, those type of things. So we'll learn some lessons from them as we go through this process as well.
Absolutely.
And there have been a couple others in Dane County recently too. Mount Horeb, I know, and Verona. Did they do one too?
years ago.
Yeah, a little bit,
Yeah.
10 years ago.
So, yeah, and the goal eventually would be to get court out of the library, have some more office space, maybe some more conference rooms over in that part of the first floor at City Hall, but that's all for the future. So, Anyone else? Alder Corr.
I'm curious, do we know who McFarland is using for design?
They're using Bray.
They are.
But like I said, I think given the scale of this project, we would want to do a formal RFP to see
I would hope
see
so.
what's out there.
Anyone else?
Oh, just one other question. Do we, I think I saw it actually. We would be demoing the existing building.
Portions, yeah, so
Okay.
like the back area where the fire trucks are today, that would be demoed. What I call the cellular tower storage facility that has telecom equipment in it, that would be demoed. The well house, that's one item that we need to see if they can design around, because to relocate that would add a significant cost increase to the project. But the existing training, or the existing kind of kitchen, living areas in the existing fire department, those would be remodeled as part of an additional project with remodeling of City Hall.
Okay.
If nothing else, we could use that for storage, and we'd have the police garage
That would open up for additional
for
storage.
additional
space.
storage. Jake desperately needs a place for some of his equipment, so it'd be great if we could put some there. So there's a lot of possibilities. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. I guess we have one more item, and it's start for immediate consideration. Consideration of Resolution 21-7-2502, resolution rescinding local state of emergency for COVID-19, put forth by City Administrator Gatto. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move to approve.
Move approval.
Second.
Brian, do you want to address
Yeah,
this?
thank you. This is more of a housekeeping item. With the Dane County lifting all of their public health orders in the early part of June, it's really not necessary for the city to continue to maintain our local state of emergency. We adopted it at the time when everyone else was adopting theirs for a couple of reasons. One, to give us some flexibility in response, but also to make us eligible for various federal and state grants. So we are free now to rescind this order. If there were ever to be a situation with the Delta variant or anything else where Dane County or somebody else would adopt a new state of emergency, then we could come back at a later date and adopt a second state of emergency if, heaven forbid, we have to go down that road again. But for our purposes, this is no longer necessary.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Move on to reports. Anyone have a diversity, equity, and inclusion report or update?
I do.
Alder, go for it.
Thank you. At Landmarks Committee last week, we had initially been asked to craft the language for the sign for the pagoda at Stonebridge Park, and we did that as a committee. And then as that project evolved, it kind of came clear that the sign is rather large, and that we should have maybe a little more language on that sign. And so I did reach out to Aaron Birdbear from Ho Chunk Nation and Bill Quackenbush to review the language that we had crafted, and then they provided numerous contributions. And as that kind of continued to grow, we realized it's probably almost more of a park sign with these other elements. So we'll be turning that over to the Parks Board. But just, it's basically just acknowledging that that was a Ho Chunk campsite, and, would feature a little more information than just the pagoda and the spring. So I think that, and we did also have a member from the public attend our meeting and offer to purchase signs for numerous park sites, kind of honoring and acknowledging the basically a land acknowledgement signs and educational signs. So we're discussing that right now.
Okay. And that would all go to the park board too, I assume.
Yeah, I think so. I think those were all park sites that we had discussed.
Okay. Anyone else? Alder Thomas.
The senior at the senior foundation meeting, Diane talked about we're going to rework on the We do a welcoming bag for new people who are moving into Heritage and to the senior housing. And there might be some benefit to someone to take a look to see if there's something we could or should include. And I've talked for a long time about doing that for the rest of the community, and I may get serious and try and as we do that, expand it to beyond seniors. But I'll talk to you about that, Mary, because I haven't talked to you about it. But seniors have done it for a long time, and we need to make sure that it's inclusive. So I need advice, maybe to talk about who could review it or look at the materials or suggest things that we could put in. And I haven't talked to Diane about that because it just occurred to me. But
Okay. Anyone else? Doug, were you going to say something?
I could, sure. Last week, I believe, attended sort of orientation session for the Justified Anger history class at Nehemiah. Alder Groupie was also attended. I don't know if anybody else did, but I think they're having 4 different sort of orientation sessions before the actual class would start.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, and I will be obviously making the work group appointments after this. So then let's move on to committee reports. Alder Coor.
Library board tomorrow night. We will be discussing our capital budget request for 2022. And Wednesday is a facilities meeting. The committee hasn't met in ages, and so this will be a good time for us to get together and discuss capital purchases for 2022 in terms of facilities for the city. And then Thursday is an informational meeting about South Winnequa.
Okay. Alder Wood.
Parks Board meets Wednesday night, and we'll be discussing the capital budget and the capital plan, sort of a long range plan.
Okay. Alder Goforth.
Yes, at Landmarks, as you all know, we've been working on those National Historic Registry projects. The Otto Schrader House, also known as the Beaurog Mansion, that application has now been submitted. The Kohl's grocery store is, I believe it either has just been submitted or is about to be submitted. It's a 1-year wait time in the queue because they're very backed up from last year. So we won't hear anything for a while, but those are both in. And we may have a couple of late submissions. We were able to get a little extension, and we've got a couple more properties that have warmed up to the idea and kind of gotten their ducks in a row so they could do this. And then we do still have some funds left over, and so we're looking for other ideas for those remaining funds, and mostly exploring signage and plaques and hoping we can use those funds for that.
So are these funds from the grant that was to be used for submitting the...
Yeah, the $25,000 grant, we still have some remaining balance there.
Okay. Alder Thomas.
I will remind you all that the concerts in the park are back tomorrow night, 6:30. I don't remember who's playing. I apologize for that. I thought Molly.
Mark Croft.
Mark Croft.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. So we hope to see you there.
Okay, and Alder Groupie gave me, Brian and I, a report to give for her. Wanted to express her personal excitement about the official formation of the ad hoc diversity and equity work group, and encourage those on the committee or who applied for spots on it and others in the community to start contemplating 2022 city committee and leadership positions so that we can continue to more broadly represent all voices and perspectives in our city. Renew Wisconsin and the city of Winona are co-hosting a Matt is Sun Intro to Solar webinar on July 28th at 7. Information is available on the Sustainable Winona Facebook page, mymonona.com, and Renew Wisconsin's website. The Senior Citizens Committee will be meeting on August 4th at 4 p.m. to begin budgetary discussions. And don't forget to take the transit survey. The July Transit Commission meeting was canceled, but they will be meeting in August to discuss bids received on their RFP and other budgetary considerations. Attorney Cole?
No report.
City Clerk?
No report, thank you.
Jen, did you have something to add?
I did when we're done. I just wanted to recognize the fire and police department for their service during the festival, community festival. It was a fantastic event. I hope you were able to enjoy at least part of it, but it would not have gone so smoothly without our staff, so I wanted to make sure I recognized them.
Brian?
Thank you. Just one quick item. Next week, we'll be starting the construction project for North Winnequa Road. Those are the speed humps that are going to be installed, I believe, off of Outlook and near Schluter Beach. So that'll start on Monday, the 27th.
Okay, then I wanted to also, in addition to the staff and Public Works, I think helped a lot too with the festival, just thank Eric Redding and the festival committee. They did do a fantastic job, and the fact that they ran out of a lot of drinks and food was a good sign. So I've heard a lot of great reports about it. Staff, department heads are getting their instructions for the operating budget this week, so be looking for that to come to your committees. And I would like to thank our new police chief for pushing traffic enforcement. I know he's been out there. He even recorded a little video, so which is cool. So I really appreciate that. And Chief, did you have anything you wanted to report on? Actually, I should have. Well, he has a book. I don't know. I'm sorry. I should have asked you.
No, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I promise I'll be brief. Just wanted to again reiterate, you're right, Mayor. We have been focusing on traffic. Even though our main thoroughfares are important to us and what has been supported by the Department of Transportation and grants, we are focusing inward as well and making sure that we address some of the driving behavior on a residential street. So again, as I said in previous meetings, my orders are that we are focusing on hazardous driving behaviors that are likely to cause injury or harm. And so that's what I have been doing, trying to model good behavior, and so my officers and staff. So thank you for acknowledging my really cheesy PSAs that are going out on social media. You will hopefully continue to see that moving forward. And I just wanted to give a couple more updates. I continue to engage and have several conversations with the Winona Grove School District in regards to their ongoing evaluation of the SRO program. I can say that I've had many good, hearty conversations and look forward to their determination, which should be made next month. But I will say on the record here today that I 100% support our school resource officer at the Winona Grove High School, and I'm happy to have any conversations in the future about why I believe that it's beneficial. I can say in addition to that, and I think it's good for me to mention that if this were to continue, that there will be some substantive changes in how that officer is engaging with the clientele, which are our students, people who we're sworn to serve as well. And the meaning of safety and feeling safe is important to me, and that means something different to different people. And so just walking through sort of these discussions with that acknowledgement is something that I plan on doing moving forward, and I'm hopeful that the board will have an opportunity to talk with me and Chief Labor in the future here as we move forward to that August date. And then we will, what is ongoing right now within the police department is I'm conducting sort of a deep review of our policy and our standard operating procedures and general orders. There are 3 groups. And so my focus is to work with the PSC and look to arrange those in a way that is more, what I shall say, user-friendly for the community and is more practical. And also looking at some substantive changes that might need to be made as well so that we provide a high-quality service to all members of our community. And training, which is also a big focus of mine as well. So I have several meetings coming up with various trainers to talk about what potential training they can provide the police department with respect to cultural competency, implicit bias, and other good wholehearted training, that CIT training and others that, not CIT, trauma-informed care training that folks might be able to provide the hardworking staff at Winona PD. And then lastly, I know it's an early pitch, but I'll pitch for it. Tuesday, August 10th at 5:30 is National Night Out, which we're celebrating. So please mark your calendars. I think I have one more meeting before that to give a reminder, and I will, or somebody on my behalf will. But that's it. I thank you for the earlier comments in support of the police department and the fire department with respect to the festival. That was a joint effort, fire, police, parks, and community organizers, public works. That was all of us coming together to make sure that that was a safe event for all. And I think you can look for continued collaboration. I'll certainly dedicate it. I know Jerry's not here, but I'm sure he'd be okay with me speaking on his behalf, that he's very much looking forward to continued collaboration to make that event as safe as can be.
Great. Alder Thomas.
Yeah, just if you could touch upon one issue, car thefts. Are they going down? Are they going up? Are they under? People ask me about this. So.
It's an up and down trend with car theft. So recently, our department participated in a stolen auto initiative, which is a multi-agency initiative. I hosted it here. I was present during the wee morning and late hours to make sure that I had an understanding of what our role at the Winona Police Department was in this larger multi-agency jurisdictional operation. It was what I would consider a very successful event. What we saw as a result of trying to identify, locate, apprehend persons who are responsible for car thefts, and doing so safely, mind you, is that we saw a steady decline. I know this is public, so I hope there's not a change in that wind there, but we saw a decline in car thefts in the community. And so we don't look at it sort of in a surgical sense, Alder, in that I'm only looking at Winona, because the same individuals who might be responsible for these behaviors are committing it all throughout our region. So that's why it's best that we form this multi-agency initiative and in essence a task force really to look at how best we can all approach this together.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Chrissy?
Yeah, I forgot to acknowledge, I wanted to thank you for your participation at the Juneteenth event, and I forgot we hadn't met since then, and I meant to acknowledge our court clerk, Toya Harrell, as well, for singing and just really making that an awesome event, so thank you for that. I'm hearing great things about your service, so thank you so much, and a lot of positive feedback about your Facebook messaging, so keep up the great work. I was wondering if you might consider having a conversation with Officer Wunsch about the student parking kind of on the residential streets. You've probably already done this, but prior to the beginning of school season, and see if there's any help you can provide us.
Absolutely. One of the things that I didn't create this concept, but it's a carryover from my previous employer, was something that the Madison School District does. It's a traffic safety plan as it relates to schools, and having input from parents, teachers, staff, community members, and police department and fire to try to develop an appropriate traffic safety plan. And part of traffic safety is parking as well. So my goal is to hope to convince the administration to perhaps pursue traffic safety committees for each school within our jurisdiction.
Fantastic, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Well, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Move on to appointments to the Ad Hoc Work Group on Diversity and Equity Issues, effective immediately. Jason Chung, Chair, Jerry Chapa, Raquel Diaz, Jade Fee, Christy Goforth, Alicia Hazen, Catherine Orr, Mary Ann Reed, and Oscar Young. And my other appointment is Mary Anderson, reappointing her to the Library Board effective immediately through June 2024. So is there a motion to approve those?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
That was very sweet.
She's coming for me.